Hey friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com. Today's video will be the star, which is in response to Masha's top tarot trumps, and she is now on card 17, the star. I also, before I get involved with this video, I want to comment on how recently someone indicated that they have a really hard time hearing me. And I want to assure you that every time I do a video, I listen to it before I release it to catch any faux pas or mistakes, and then I'll put, an edit down below in the description to correct my mistake. But I also do it because I want to make sure you can hear me. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. I have purchased a lapel mic, so maybe that'll help. I just really use my phone, and maybe that will be the reason why, it's not high tech. I'm definitely not high tech. If you're watching me for high tech, I really apologize because I'm not that. But hopefully my content is good and, compensates to some degree for the inconvenience of my lack of technical ability. At any rate, I want to get started on the cards. I think I will keep the camera facing on me, not because I'm so cute, but because it'll just work better. Now, the star card is my favorite card of all the cards in the Triumph order. I think I love the star card because it tends to be beautiful. If there's a beautiful card in the deck, it's probably the star card. And I also love the message of the star card. The message is hope, opportunity, and that's a great message. It's a great message to see in a spread. And the cards that I've chosen aren't necessarily the prettiest cards, the prettiest star cards, but I wanted to have a collection of different varieties and how they look throughout history to some degree. I mean, it's not conclusive. I only have 5 or 6 decks here, so. The first card, and I'm doing it in, I think, more or less chronological order. The first deck I'm showing is the Personal Modrone by Benedetti. And the star card that I'm using for that is, very typical of the early Italian decks where they had a woman, underneath a star. The concept was the star, it wasn't It wasn't anything else. It was just the star, just like the moon in some of the earlier cards and the sun in the earlier cards. It was the idea of the star, the star that was captured. And, she's beautiful. I guess it was kind of like the equivalent of one of those shows from a million years ago where there were prizes, and Deena, Merrill, I guess, or one of I don't remember what her name was, but she held, she pointed toward a prize, a door, or a slot with a door, at any rate. So it's kind of like, that, the woman who's like Vanna White, right? Who's holding, underneath the star, who's presenting the star. Now, skip 500 or 600 years to the Erenberg Tarot, which I've showcased a few times. And throughout this collection of cards for this tarot challenge by Masha, I have chosen quite a few cards from the Erenberg Tarot. And this one, now it's just the star, just like in keeping with some of the older Italian cards. Now, this one does have a woman in it, but some of them just, the feature is the star, and that's really the point. And I like that they just have the star, and there's no other agenda in this. It's just representing the star. Now, I'm going to show 2 in the same category. The Tarot of Marseille Noblet. Tarot de Marseille Noblet, this one also by Benedetti, and then the Pagan Otherworlds by Uusi. Their representation. This one's like one of the first, not the first anymore. I think we're aware of 2 other decks perhaps that came before the Noblet as far as TDM goes. But it is one of the earlier TDM decks. where we have, the sign of Aquarius, right? We have the sign of Aquarius under the star. And years ago, and I've spoken about this in other videos, but it's an interesting topic regarding the star. I was really curious, like, how did we go from a star, plain and simple, to the sign of Aquarius, representing the star? And so I did some deep diving and rabbit hole stuff. And I've never read this in any tarot book or anything like that. There was never a connection made in any tarot sources. I found it more in, I just looked up the sign of Aquarius and why it was such a popular depiction. And as it turns out, when in the Middle East, when the sign of Aquarius, or when the Aquarius constellation appeared in the sky, they knew that it was opportunity for irrigating, and they knew that it was time for the rains to come, and then it would be opportunity for watering the land, because there would be the rains, and then they could irrigate, and they could, make the land take maximum opportunity from the rains. Whoop. So I thought, oh, okay. Now it connects it with the Middle East too, which is kind of interesting. But when they saw the sign of Aquarius, they knew the rains would come, and that would be the opportunity for irrigating the land. So we see it in the Tarot of Marseille in the early, this is what we see in the TDM. And I picked the Uusi card because it depicts the same scene. And in this one, in the TDM, it becomes a little vague. We have the woman, she's pouring. It's kind of ambiguous if both of the vessels are being poured in the water, or one on the water and one on the land. It's sometimes kind of hard to tell. But in the Uusi, we have one on the water and one on the land. It's very clear. And the star is very hard to see. There's a couple stars. But it's the Aquarian, it's the Aquarian reference that is so notable in this card. It's not the star at all. You have to really look for the star. Oh, another card that I chose for the star card, and one of the ways it's depicted, we see in the Anonymous Tarot of Paris. This one was published by the International Museum in Italy, I think. The International Tarot Museum in Italy. I do have another publication of this, but this one is a little easier to see. And in some cases, we do see the star being represented by an astronomer with his calipers and his measuring, astronomical measuring tools. Because astrology was a big thing. Astrology was astronomy back in those days. It was the science. And of course, my Mitelli. I love my Mitelli. And I believe that, this was around 1660, something like that. This one is also by Marco Benedetti. This deck was published, I think, around the same time as the Noblet would have appeared in France. And we notice, let me pull the Noblet Hermit card. I've never read this in any book or anything like that, but it's kind of apparent to me that this star card, this is the star card, this is not the Hermit card. This star card from the Mitelli deck somehow became the Hermit of the TDM, which was produced around the same period of time. So it's a kind of interesting thing. And again, much like the Uusi, where the star is faint, it's recognizing the Aquarius constellation symbol more than the star. And here, the emphasis is on the character, not the stars, right? You see the stars. Oh, yeah, there they are. But the emphasis is on the gentleman, which I think somehow got lost in translation. And I think it got mistranslated and became the hermit of the French decks when it migrated to, to France. I've never read that in any book. It was an observation I made a number of years ago, and I've spoken about it a few times on my channel. But I think at some point somebody's going to write about it. But I think it's interesting. I think that's what happened. I think the Mitelli figure became the hermit, right? And I think it went the hermit of the old Italian decks had the hourglass, right? But when they saw this, the hermit, it became the hermit with the lantern. And they probably believed it being a reference to Diogenes with his lantern. At any rate, that's all I've got for the star card. I hope you found this video interesting. And it's a wonderful card. It's got a wonderful message. Until next time, friends, peace, stay well, be kind, and do no harm.